Welcome to Quick and Easy Comics, where I talk to you about comics that are not only easy to get and read, but are also really fun and enjoyable and don't require a lot of homework. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite comics of 2015, Archie.
To someone on the outside peering in, it would have looked like there were 4 people in that booth. But I was there, and I can tell you, really, there were only 3. A blonde girl, a raven-haired girl, and the luckiest red-headed boy in the universe. For one shining moment, we were just kids. Those bright neon lights of Pops keeping the darkness at bay.
Let's just talk about the setup of the comic, which starts off with Archie and Betty. They've been together since they were little kids. They break up due to some inciting thing called the lipstick incident, where they're both broken up and nobody knows what to do. You know, there are 3 truths in Riverdale High. Weatherby's bald, the food is bad, and Archie and Betty are together. But unfortunately, that third one is out of whack. Nobody knows what to do. Jughead is just sitting there in the middle. He's just like, my 2 best friends broke up. I don't know what to do. What? And then Veronica, her dad, family, etc. roll into town. Her father has political ideas of the town, and she, a former reality TV star and heiress to a billion-dollar company, is just wondering like, oh, why am I here with these peasants? You know, she has this whole thing. And then when Archie first sees her, he just falls in love instantly like that. And she sort of has this weird blackmail, I kind of do like you type thing. And then they get together, then Betty is just, she doesn't know what to do with herself. And that's how the comic is basically set up. There are lots of things that go on. Like, if you're looking for the drama that is in Riverdale, eventually that does seep into the comic, but it takes a longer time to develop. Like, you get more time with these characters before you see something horrible happen to them. Just discussing the writing and the artwork, Mark Waid and Fiona Staples do some of the first issues, and it's really good. I really appreciate what Mark Waid is able to do is that he's able to write these characters that, in a sense, are not cartoony, but they are slightly exaggerated to the extent that we can still connect with them, but there's parts of them that are very comic-y, in a sense. So it still keeps us entertained, which is great because it's sort of an evolution of, you know, of the old Pep comics where Archie would like fall, like he would ruin everything because he was just the clumsiest person in the world. And that translates to the newer comics, but it's not as cartoony. His accidents are like, it's believable accidents, and you just think, wow, this guy is just the worst at doing anything. Because that's kind of always been Archie's thing. He was the original nice guy. Archie, I swear, Archie Andrews is the original nice guy. Look into the history of it. He's always down on his luck, and he's just like, why won't anyone love me? You know, golly gee willikers. So, but he's still a good guy in a sense, so he's not that poisonous, nice guy stereotype. He really is always trying to do the nice thing, which is great. Fiona Staples has one of those art styles that it very much mimics real life and is able to take that structural components of how people walk and how things are built up. And what she's able to do is that she makes it sharper. She characterizes it more for whatever story it's needed for. And it really works really well with the writing. Because it's all supposed to be very relatable. It's very colorful. It's very popping. It's very interesting. And what the writing and artwork does is that it brings this sense of real life, of real actual words and dialogue and people, and tunes them slightly so that they're still entertaining and grabbing. Because, you know, real life can sometimes get boring. So the characterization of these characters has really gone really well, and I really appreciate it. It's so damn charming, and I really appreciate the effort and work that was put into this launch. If we're going into the history of the comic, we're going to go back to 1939, where MLJ Comics originally started publication, where they did mostly superhero comics. And we didn't see Archie, Jughead, and Betty until way later, until the late 40s, where they showed up in Pep Comics number 22, where they had their first premiere, where they were kind of mimicking the comedy styling of Andy Hardy and particularly Mickey Rooney, who were very incredibly popular at the time. Honestly, Archie comics and the characters have always jumped into different mediums, trying to see where they work best. And not only just talking within the comics themselves, they've tried so many things. There's Life with Archie. There's Life with Betty. There's Vampires with Archie. There's Archie, where they're basically all the Scooby-Doo gang. Archie's Weird Mysteries, one of my favorite things to watch. There's Life with Archie. There's been so many different reworkings that this 2015 renewal of kind of the Archie brand has really helped not only establish itself as a character and a product that's relatable and interesting to a newer generation, but also that it can be more readily formatted for other mediums, such as Riverdale. You know, if we're going to be talking about Archie, I feel the need that we have to talk about Riverdale, just because it's so damn popular. So I just thought I would address each one of the characters originally in their comics and then compare them to Riverdale, because why not? First character we're going to compare is Archie. This guy in the show Riverdale is very, okay, both Archies are dumb. Like, they try so hard to do the nice thing, but they make so many mistakes along the way. And it really depends on where they're taking that character, because in other variations of the Archie characters and stories, his ridiculousness and his kind of open-faced foolishness can be endearing as long as he learns from it. But in some storylines, he just doesn't, and he just keeps making the same mistakes, and it just gets tiring. And in this one, he slowly works up into being a smarter person, and that's great and everything. But I'm hoping for a bit more of that in the Riverdale show, because this Archie does learn a lot of things. He kind of learns that who he is as a person, you know? And that's always something everyone's looking for. Betty is the best person in the Archie comic book and the best person in Riverdale. And if you disagree with me, we can fight. I will find you. We will go for it. We will have a verbal fight. It'll be crazy. Betty is the best. If we're talking differences and just comparisons in the idea of the characters, Jughead is really interesting because Riverdale is the most melodramatic he's ever appeared in. In most of the comics, many renditions, everything, Jughead honestly is very much on about food. He's on about himself, his life, his friends, and he is very, I wouldn't say he's very tangential in what he wants in life. And although there are a few things that he does hold really dear, he's very much go with the flow, like whatever happens is what happens. But in the show, he is very melodramatic, and he's very, everything matters. And it's kind of something that works with and against the show, and at times it really makes a character really interesting and really exciting, and other times it just makes him seem silly. I think if you're looking throughout the show and the comic books, you always find that Jughead sometimes has the weirdest and or cringiest lines. So I guess that works out. If we're talking about Veronica, simply in the 2015 version of the comic, Veronica takes her time learning to be a better person, whereas in the show, she already showed up incredibly humble, incredibly this person that just wants friends and is learning that she should not be terrible. But in the comic, she kind of starts out as a terrible person. You know, she's kind of like a Kim Kardashian-esque type character, which, in the sense that I've never met her, so I can't really account on how she acts, but just the image given off, it's very bougie, it's very high class, it's very like, oh yes, Taylor Swift played at my friend's birthday party. Where did your friends do? You know, she's kind of a jerk. So in the comic, she starts out worse for wear rather than in the... There are several character differences that we could spend all day going over, tiny little things, you know, like Moose not being gay, Karen Keller's blonde hair. There are lots of things we could go over. But basically, the structure of Riverdale is really interesting because it takes these characters and it brings them to... It takes a very realistic approach. The structure of the characters in Riverdale are very realistic, but it drops them into this incredibly world that's very blameless on the fact that they're on the CW, but no, it's just true. Whatever they're putting out, you could tell that it's built to be this dramatic, deep, really characterized show, and you can really appreciate that at times, whereas other times you can just be like, here we are again. Somebody else got shot. Oh, another dream sequence or a fake out where you think someone's gonna die, but they didn't. They just wanted to scare you, you know? Because, you know, that image gets leaked and you think someone's gonna die, then everyone will be on it, and it's just this whole thing. In case you're wondering, one of my favorite adaptations of the Archie canon is Archie's Weird Mysteries, which was a Saturday morning cartoon show where they're basically the Scooby Gang. It was Archie, Veronica, Betty, Reggie, and Jughead, all of them together, and they would go around and solve mysteries where they'd get small, or they'd get stuck in the computer, or they'd fight monsters, and they had this whole thing, and it was great, and I loved it, and it was so dumb, and they were kind of copying Scooby-Doo, but at the time, I hadn't known what Scooby-Doo was, so when I saw Scooby-Doo, I was like, they're ripping off Archie's Weird Mysteries. But I digress.
What's that sound? Archie's Mysteries. What is going on in this town? Archie's Mysteries. Who is gonna crack the case? Archie's Mysteries. That redhead with the freckled face. Archie's Things are getting weird in Riverdale.
Thank you so much for watching this every other week show. I really appreciate it. And if you want to check out more Archie comics, you can check out Mark Waid and Fiona Staples. I'll put both their links down below. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put a link if you want to check it out. There's a free Comic Book Day issue out, so I don't know if you can grab that. And thank you so much for watching. And tune in 2 weeks from now where I do my next episode of Quick and Easy Comics, which is about all new X Factor, the X-Men team you've never heard of.